We're going to talk about the Taurus energy field. Let me write this down so I can get it all in. Let's see. Taurus energy field. The apple. We'll talk about, the serpent in the tree. Genesis. And the tree of life. Because, let's see, the tree of life. Because there was a tree of knowledge, and then there was the tree of life. Taurus energy field, right? Taurus energy field, the tree of life, the apple, right? The apple and the Taurus energy field, right? Because all this shit, all of it's the same thing. All of it has to do. Oh, here, we're gonna talk about the mermaid, because mer means water, and the original mermaid symbol, mer means water, Mary, the womb, mermaid. Oh, the fucking anchor, the anchor. Anchor. There's like dude, I can sit here and I can write a fucking list of them all day, these symbols and what they mean. But we'll start out with that, right? Because I was asked, duality and duality, the difference between the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. Right? And what duality, or the opposite poles, the male and female aspect of the brain, what all this shit has to, if it's all connected, and it is all, like Joachim and Boaz, the two pillars, black and white, right? And what do they all have in what do they all have in common? Well, first off, there's more to the black and white. It's psychological things. It's like the dark night of the soul is the black pillar, and which is kind of like turning lead into gold in alchemy. It's kind of like you gotta reach down deep into the soil. Your roots have to grow deep, as Carl Jung would say, for the tree to grow tall and strong. Right? The tree of knowledge and the apple, and if you look, you could almost find crosses with the serpent on it, as if the cross is the tree. The cross is the tree. See, because, and the serpent was running up the tree because the serpent is like your reptilian part of your mind, right? The reptilian part of your mind. It's the one that's running shit, and it works on fear, and that plays a big part in everything, because when you're living only in fear, you're in the logical side of your brain. Well, you don't have the feminine side activated, and because you know what, there's spiritual aspects to things like the daemon, and you know those are supposed to be higher angels that are to help guide you, your spirit guides and shit like that. So think of it like this. In the Bible, I believe that they had cherubim and flaming swords that were protecting the tree of life in the garden. You know, after they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they figured out good and evil. Well, then, you know, God came in and he said, well, we gotta protect the tree of life, because if they eat it, they will become like us. Well, first off, they already was like God, and they was God basically before they ate from the apple. Okay? And then once they ate from the apple, they became polarized to things. You know, you're good and evil, dark and light, which created the you know, matter. See, the serpent or the reptilian mind got them by asking them about what they already had, and surely you won't be this, or surely you won't be that. Surely you wouldn't be like gods, right? But the point was they was already walking with God. So then they fell from that. It was basically, they was in light and they fell into darkness, which is dark matter. It was the fall of man. But once that they had bitten from the apple and they had the knowledge to be like gods, so to speak, with, you know, the knowledge, which is inside here. It's in here. There's nothing out here. There's no outside source that's going to give you what you need to grasp this shit. It's you have to learn to meditate and go inbound, because that's where the real knowledge is, the real wisdom, right? So the problem with that is just like today, you know, you got all these religions, and you know, like back during the 10th century, they in some ways they blocked and hindered people. They took spirit from you. They got that shit and they took it out of the Bibles and stuff. And a lot of what alchemy is taking something down into a base, and then that's where the spirit is. Kind of like if you was to take you know, some kind of grains, and you was to break them down and create alcohol. Well, what's alcohol? That's spirits. See, that's the distilled version of what it is. But they did that because they wanted you to fear. They wanted you to fear shit like witchcraft. They wanted you to fear, you know, Wicca, all these magic, all this shit. If I can get you to be afraid to look into something and learn about something, that's something I can use against you, because you have no knowledge of it. And when you don't have no knowledge of something, like, let's just say the basic spider, everybody's scared of a fucking spider. But if you take the time to learn what spider's which, you might find out that this is a passive spider, and he don't want nothing to do with you. He don't want to bite you, and he will never bite you, right? One of the most deadliest spiders on the planet is the granddaddy longlegs, but his mouth is not big enough to fucking bite you. So, but you know, it takes knowledge, knowing something, in order to lose the fear. So the whole idea of the tree of life being guarded by cherubim and seraphim and blades, you know, blades of fire and shit like that, is fear. On the opposite side of fear, is life. You have to go through your fears to get life. I'm sure that makes enough sense for you. See, so they got knowledge, and that knowledge told them that there's bad, and put them in a state of fear where they was scared that they might die if they was to you know, fight through the flaming swords or whatever to get to the tree of life. And basically, if they would have got to the tree of life, they would have went back to what they was before they ate from the apple. See, that's the point of it is we all worry about, death and morbidity and shit like that. But the thing is the spirit is eternal. You can't, it's energy. It can be transformed into something else, but it will never be destroyed. Information is energy. Everything that we speak about, everything we think about, it goes out into the cosmos and it stays there forever. They know this, forever. And when you're in a state of fear, you block yourself from learning new things. When you think you know everything already, you block yourself. What you have to do is you have to realize that you know nothing. I know nothing. This shit I'm teaching you, I don't know. I'm planting seeds. You go look it up for yourself and see if you get the same analogy. If three things hit the same, I'd say that chances are you're on the right track. It's a journey down the yellow brick road to get to where you get to this point. It's taken me years to get this shit. But we're going to start out with the Bible, which is the two bulls, which is the Taurus energy field. One's male, one's female. It'd be the same thing as the 8. We're going to write an 8 right here. See? Or time, or an hourglass. Right? Now, this right there, that is the chalice. That is the womb. The womb, the female, right? It's always the blade pointed down is the female, and the blade pointed up is the male, which is fire. If I was to make fire, it would be like and it will always be in a pyramidal shape, won't it? A fire always comes to the center and goes up. And as it goes up, it creates a Taurus energy field, doesn't it? Yes. Right? Water or womb always cools things down, which is silver or moon. Right? So, let's see. How do I play this? Okay, here. Check this out. Remember the womb, right? The female and the male. Fire. Right? The woman would be blue. The woman would be blue. The male would be red. Right? Well, the serpent, sometimes you'll find it on the cross, because what it is basically and sometimes you'll see the vesica with it, which is the womb, or the seed that has split once, and usually what comes out of it is the phallus first off, and the serpent would be like time, right? And as it says in the Bible that every man has to bear his own cross. Well, basically, you have to die to figure out that you were dead and now you are alive. You are awoken. Because when you die, you're going to awaken. You're going to awaken to what it's really all about. And all those fucking questions that were unanswered, all the answers are going to be there. It's all going to be there. But the apple, the anchor, the mermaid. Okay, here we go. The Vesica Pisces, which is a circle with another circle overlapping it. And if you look, you see the womb right there. The womb. The womb is the Taurus of your body. Now, this is the female part of the Vesica Pisces. And this is the male part of the Vesica Pisces. All right. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna put a little blue in there. All right, little blue, little red. No, I'm sorry, I did that completely fucking backwards. Here, red there, blue here. Now, if you look up the Taurus energy field, this is where we're going with this. See, so this might spin this way, right? Like a tornado. Because a tornado is a Taurus, is a bull. Like the bi-bulls, the two bulls, the two tornadoes. This one here, spiraling it this way. Now, the Vesica Pisces, the two rings, right, that make up your Taurus energy. Now, right here, I'll put this right here. I'll put an example in there. I'll break this apart, put an example in there so you can see what I'm talking about as far as a Taurus energy field or an apple. Now, I'm gonna redraw the same thing over, but in a different way. An apple right, looks like this, and then it'll have the stem out of it, right? If you cut open an apple, that's what it'll look like on the inside. It'll look like that. Well, a Taurus energy field does the same thing. See, up here is the female, down here is the male end of the Taurus energy field, and nothingness, or you, right there. Because from you, your Taurus energy field wraps around you, right? It is an apple. See, as you're sitting here, you think you're this body, you think you're matter, but matter is 99.999999999% empty space. So as you're sitting here, you, inside the apple, okay? I know that sounds crazy. But on the outside of that, this is God. This is God. Information, God, the energy of the Taurus energy field. And that energy runs straight up your back like this, right? And back out, and back out. Spirit. It's what keeps you alive. You see, there you are on the cross. Right? Inside of this is what you consider your whole world. Your pattern of your beliefs and all that are in there. That's all in here. So the stars, your friends, right? Everything, the stars, your friends, everything. Because your friends are basically you in time replaying yourself, right? But as them. That's why they say, do unto others only what you would have done to you. Because you are doing it to yourself. This is basically the whole world in a speck world. That's why they call it the womb, because this is like one big fucking womb. Apollo, the apple, and planets are in here, all this. This is, when you look up Heart Math Institute, they show you the Taurus energy field, but it only shows you one that goes out 6 feet, right? Because that's your energy. That's what's projecting out of you, the energy that, like if when you say, that motherfucker, he's vibing some fucked up vibes, you know, or they don't vibe the same way I do, or they're killing my vibes. That's because that's your frequency, your vibration, right? And this is the apple. Now, when you was born, what do they call it? Abandonment issues, and some people suffer with kids suffer with separation anxiety. You know, always clinging to their mom's legs and shit, always clinging to something. And even as an adult, you're still clinging to something. You're trying to find something to cling to. If you fell off the fucking side of a cliff, the first thing you do is grab a loose rock, hoping that's just something to cling to, right? You got to learn to stop clinging to shit. But see, everything works the same, because let's just say that right here, right, is the tree. This is the ground. The roots go down on the tree. Okay? You see the roots. The tree blossoms like this, but the energy field is still the same. See? You see, there's the trunk. There's your trunk, right? There's the trunk of the tree. And like Carl Jung said, your roots must grow deep into hell in order for you to reach heaven. That means you gotta know both ends of this fucking spectrum. But even as you think you're all alone in this world, and you're on the tree, you ate from the apple, you're on the tree. See, and the tree could be like a representation of God himself. And what you don't know is you're one little apple connected to God, and it says it in the Bible, that you were created gods yourself. And each one of those little apples on that tree is someone, like in magic, using words to create worlds. Because, you know, I know you've heard it. It's your world. I'm just living in it, right? When someone says that, or the world according to me. This is the way the world works according to me, right? We'll get to that in a minute too. But the secret behind the Starbucks symbol and all the other ones, see, in different cultures, they had different ways of doing this. See, that was the apple, right? In the artwork, you gotta have your feminine side. You gotta try to get into your more artistic side to understand the spiritual aspect and the symbols and what they mean. The Starbucks woman. Right? And she's coming down, and her legs are coming up like this, right? Right, and she's got her arms out like this. She's got her arms holding shit up. I know it's a shitty ass picture, but there's a point behind it. See, and if you're paying attention to the artwork, you're going to start to see the difference between that and that. It's the same. See, because in the original images of the water maid, or this water world, because basically air is just a distilled, lightened gas form of moisture. But her legs would actually go all the way around, right? And they would connect, see, just like that. But it looked more like braided roots. Like I don't know if you've ever seen them. Some trees will braid. You can braid the tree vines, but all the way up through here, the Starbucks woman, used to have, which created her world. Her world. Everything going on inside of her, right? But, and she had a star right here. Right? That's the feminine star. And the way you know that is between her legs being spread out. And in some of them, you'll actually see the compass and the square. The rights. Because a right is a right, or a 90 degree is a right. So if I wanted to write 90 degree on a piece of paper, I'm saying that gives me my rights, or a right to do something. A right, two rights, right? Or the male and the female, because that's right. Or you'll see, which is also a box, kind of like, sometimes they refer to a woman's female part down there as a box. Or you'll see the Vesica Pisces, which is also the vagina, or the Mother Mary. If you ever look at the image of or a statue of Mother Mary, she's got her arms out like this. And then she's got her veil that comes around her, and she's holding. It's like a woman with her legs spread, and then sometimes she'll have her hands like this, and just above is like where the clit is, you know. So it's the same thing. It's your world, and your words make your world, or spun, or the Taurus energy field. Okay. See, I'll see if I can find that mermaid and put it in here. I'll try to put it right here. But that's words create worlds, and if you're limited by your words, then you're basically limiting yourself from the knowledge to make your world whichever way you want, right? And if you believe everything that the fucking TV tells you, then doesn't that kind of become your own world? Because if you live in a state of fear, then that's pretty much what they're pushing on the news. Then you're always going to be in a state of fear. You're always going to be manipulated. They wouldn't be able to go and change the narrative unless they slowly slid it in, because it takes concision to keep you manipulated into this state of fear. And if they was to tell you the truth, then they'd have to have more than 30 minutes to try to explain to you really how the reality works. So if you're spending 90% of your time watching TV, you're going to be in their world, and they're broadcasting, like the netter, Indra's net, right? And Indra's net is basically always represented as a spider web, and it's the spider's web. I mean, that'll tell you enough right there. But with dewdrops on it, and each dewdrop is reflecting all the other dewdrops, which is the same thing as the apples on the tree, right? You think that's you and you're separated from God, but you're connected to God. You just can't see God and you're not used to this because You know, back in the 10th century when they was killing alchemists and doing all that shit and trying to get you out of spirit and stuck basically in matter, so that way you'll always be in fear. You're missing the feminine aspect of your brain, and you're running around with anxiety and shit and don't even know that, you know what, those are all frequencies and vibrations that are connecting to you, and you don't know how to understand that shit. People on a deeper level, you know, that understand the spiritual aspect of things are trying to tell you, hey, these frequencies, they're either energy vampires or people trying to manipulate you, or people, you know, if you're around people and you're like, it just seems like every time I get around her, you know, she glows and she's got a positive light to her. But see, all that is in your field. So, the Taurus, like I said, the Taurus or tornado, because a tornado is like that. Now, if you take the other tornado, right, and you make the heat rise and the cold will drop, right? Now, you got to look at this more in a three-dimensional, you know, as like an apple. It's basically in a round shape, right? Like I said, I'll put the Taurus energy, but that is the two bulls, which is also, oh shit, I'm sorry, which is also the Star of David, right? The male and the female come together, right? When the male and the female come together, when you get it, it's also the light cone. You know, it's the Indians talked about the light cone, as above, so below. Alchemists talk about as above, so below. That's so below and as above, right? So we might be running around with our tetrahedron or tornado spread out like this, is the way I understand this, right? Now, when you bring them together like that, and they're spinning inside you, which is your heart, they're spinning inside you. That's when you're in the state of now. You're not thinking of the past, and you're not trying to predict the future from the past. You're just living right here, right now, and allowing things to be just as they are. And that when that does that, it's basically the Merkaba, or your light body, right? I can't say I've ever gotten there, but, and so, just think about this. When it comes to the spirits, or breaking something down into its raw form or the base form and pulling the spirits out of it, and it being alcohol, in the Bible it said that Jesus turned water into wine, right? So he basically took the water and turned it into spirit, didn't he? Yes, he did. See, because it was John that baptized us to Christ, and the Holy Spirit come upon him. Well, after that, it was said that the Christ showed us to baptize by the Holy Spirit, didn't he? Right. So, turning water into wine. Well, Jesus, if you go find most images of Jesus had he had on a blue robe with red coming across it, right? A blue and red robe, which is the same thing as woman and male, moon and sun, or water and fire, right? It's water and fire that renew, right? They renew. They take and you burn something with fire and pour water on it. It's going to break it down into renew it back to the cleanest form, right? It's purified, as to say. Now, why is that important? Because the Christ, or Chi, which is an X, here, let's put that like that, which is an X. Yeah, you can't see that shit here. Let me get my blackie out. All right, which is the X. That's the Chi, or the Christ, up here. It's taking the male and the female. The two must become one. The two must become one, right? So, you always see Jesus, and he's got two fingers up, and he's holding the heart. And the heart has flames coming out of it. It's 55. I call it 55. 55. So, 5 is that, right? Five, fire. 5, fire. 5, fire. Well, if you mirror that, right? Because they like to mirror. You got the heart, don't you? You got the heart. And then if you take and you put fire off of it, right? So it is the heart. It is the heart that Jesus Christ was holding in his hand, with the flame coming up, because you have to find a state of love and get completely the fuck away from fear. And once you get into a state of love and you're feeling love, right? You're feeling love. It's not, you got to understand a deeper meaning of what love is. It means that you're just everything is joy and happy and almost to the point of putting tears in your eye. You've gotten to that place. Well, then the fire will go from your heart. Go up and it'll light up your pineal gland, your third eye. And then you'll go into what they call Christ consciousness. Right? You'll see everything for the way it really is. You will see the apple. You will see your own Taurus, right? And if you're not ready for this, if you've taken ayahuasca, and I know that you've probably seen some celebrities that take ayahuasca and they come out and they said that they had to spend a lot of time in hell, right? Or it was terrible. They had a terrible moment while they was on ayahuasca. Why? Because the Taurus, they seen their own Taurus, their own bull. They seen their own chaos and all that, and it was terrible, because the Taurus bull is terrible when you first see it, because you're like, what the fuck am I? Right? So the Taurus is terrible. But see, that's what the Christ was trying to teach you. You must take the left brain. You must take the right brain, the male and the female. You need to do that out here in this world. You need to start respecting women and start exploring what women are about, right? And trying to find your artistic side. Being kind. You know what? They always say a man is, what makes a man, and he thinks what makes a man is tough and all that shit. But, you can be tough and go out here and work your ass off and shit, but if you're not willing to be mentally strong, right, and deal with some of the shit that a woman will put you through, then you're not really all that strong. Because you know what? You wasn't put here You've only been manipulated into believing it's about, being a workhorse. That's slavery. Workhorse is being enslaved. Because when you have cultures and society as a whole that is using your mind, manipulating your mind, controlling your mind into some kind of fucking belief or ideology and putting you in a box, right? Then what happens is once your mind's under control, your body follows whatever the fuck your mind tells you. So that next thing you know, you'll be like them women with Charles Manson who had the X or the Christ on his forehead. They pretty much did whatever the fuck he wanted them to do because he had them under mind control, right? But the fire from the heart, the light of the heart, the energy, because your heart is, what they say, every time your heart beats, it's putting off like a fucking gigawatt of energy. Well, I guess if you get connected to it in the right way and you're doing your breathing techniques and you get the spinal fluid to raise, once you get to a certain point of love, then that thing fires off, right? Fires off that energy and that light goes up and enlightens the fucking globe. It's the same thing as the lamp oil in the Bible, right? You gotta light the lamp or illuminate the lamp, right? It's up in here. And when you do that, then you'll see the eyes. You can look at some of Maynard James Keenan's Tool's album covers and artwork, and you'll see the apple. You'll see the Taurus energy field. It's coming out of the apple, and you'll see the energy goes up and around, and it just keeps going. And you'll see your energy that's coming out of there. So when you do that, then you'll realize that you're more than just this body that you got, and it's like opening up the tree of life, right? Because you realize that you're eternal. Then you can explore it, because once you figure out how to do it, then you'll want to explore all these possibilities more. Well, to explore is the woman or traveler, the traveler. See, because the Masons always called themselves travelers. That's why you got, Motel 6, right? The Travel Lodge, the Travel Inn. What did they say at Motel 6? It was Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. We'll leave the lamp on for you. Because the travelers, what was they asked? They said, in Freemasonry, they say, "Are you a traveler?" And they say, "Yes. I'm headed from the west to the east to the place of enlightenment where the sun comes up," right? Which is light, enlightenment. Now, just some other things while we're on this. Because everything's all about words and symbols in your mind. And whatever limits you, what language limits you, you can't always convey a message across from you to someone else. See, now, if I was to tell you to think of yourself driving a red Corvette, and you got the perfect man or woman sitting in the passenger seat, you could start to visualize all this shit. And you could visualize yourself driving down the fucking road, right? Well, certain words will put certain limitations on there. So if I said, visualize yourself in the red Corvette driving down the road and there's a hoe in the passenger seat. See, you're automatically going to think of a woman as a hoe. But it could be a yard instrument for digging and plowing up the earth, which, you might be on your way to work on your garden that you've been waiting for. You want to build this garden, and you need that hoe to get the fucking soil broke up, right? To bring air to it. So you're limited. And when we start changing words, we also limit ourselves, because You could come up with 3 or 4 different definitions for a word, and that's why etymology will take you back to the root of the word, right? And sometimes in alchemy, they'll use, what is it, Latin to explain alchemy, right? Which all alchemy is basically about, you know, is about building you, creating you, turning lead or a shitty, negative, sad person into gold and being enlightened, you know. Just like library, you know, is a library. It will liberate you. Who gives a fuck about freedom if you're going to run around sad all the fucking time because you can't figure out how this world is manipulating you? Wouldn't it be better to go to the liberator and be liberated? I'd rather be a fucking liberated slave than a free sad motherfucker, right? Because they don't want to take the time to understand mind control. Now, I always said that nobody knows the truth. And what do I mean by that? And what does that have to do with the serpent in the garden and all that? Because the serpent in the garden is a frequency, a vibration, or a sine wave, which is time. You get enough time, you're going to get old and you're going to fucking die, right? It's like the moth and rust that destroy. Well, you give anything enough time, it's going to be destroyed, right? But the truth is linear. The truth is a straight line. And as a frequency is more of a wave or like a serpent, right? And so just like a serpent or a wave, it has crests or troughs to it, or peaks and valleys. You know, you can only sit on the peak for so long of a mountain. You get fucking bored and you would want to go down there to the valley. Down to the valley of the shadow of death. You would want to go down and explore your dark side so that way you could rise higher up the fucking mountain. So, this is time. Time. And time is linear. But you are cyclical. Right? So, let's just call this a 2-hour time period. You go in there and you start watching a movie. Next thing you know, you're entrained in entrainment into the movie. But every once in a while, somebody will make a noise, or your friend will laugh, or say something to you, and you miss parts in the movie, or you just drop off consciousness from the awareness of that movie. This is the points where you had lost consciousness with the movie. These are the connections right here. This. See, that's how much of the movie you're getting. Depending. Right? And as I'm explaining this as a movie, also think of, I'm explaining it, this is your fucking life. So if you're living in a state of depression, your vibration is going to be wider. You're going to be more of a taller band going down through there, because as you're going through life and you're not in the now, you're thinking about what happened yesterday, the things you said, and how you got in an argument about it, and next thing you know, your mind is somewhere else besides on reality, right? It's not in truth. And when you're way out here on the wave and the trough, and waves and the troughs, or the peaks and the valleys, when you're way the fuck out there, then you're not taking in as much conscious awareness to the things around you. You're not concentrating on reality and the truth. So what happens is you're barely making a connection. Okay? You're barely making a connection with the truth. That's why they say vibrate higher. Because when you're in the now, you're vibrating on such a frequency, you know, paying attention to what's going on right here, right now, because there is no fucking tomorrow. I've never been to tomorrow. Have you ever been there? I have never been to tomorrow. There is no, they tell you that shit to try to give you hope for tomorrow. And the past is gone. So all you have is now. And that's exactly what the light cone represents, or the two Taurus energy fields, and bringing the Merkaba together out of the Star of David, bringing these two together. Because right here, right there, is time. And this is the alpha, the beginning, and this is the end. All right? And you're right here, right now. Stay here and bring those two energy fields together right now, right here, right now. And that will bring you into truth. You will know things. You will know the truth. Now, that line right there, when you're in a state of sadness and you're barely making connections, right? Then you're not living in the now. You're living in your thoughts. And when you sit and think too much and you're living in your thoughts and you're thinking that everything's good and bad all the fucking time, instead of it just is what it is, it's just a situation. So when you're off there, you can't even fix tomorrow, what we call tomorrow, or say 10 hours down the road off of what you got right here. When everything's good, have you ever noticed that when everything's going your fucking way, you don't want to go out and buy shit, you don't need anything, you're just fucking happy. So you don't sit around and dwell on shit from the past, trying to fix it for the future, because there's nothing to fix. You can't predict what's going on 5 stoplights ahead anyway. You know, so if you got a shitty past, learn to live in the now anyway. Because if you're living in the now, then you'll start seeing the truth for however it is. Okay? Fuck tomorrow, fuck yesterday, and fuck tomorrow. If you live right here, right now, then you'll start to open up and you'll start to be happy, because when you're vibrating higher and you're more in conscious awareness, you're here. You're picking up more truth, right? You're picking up more truth because your wave is vibrating against truth. That means that everything around you, you're taking it in. If anybody says something and you're in that state of care and understanding, you will get it all. You won't be trying to project your own images off on it. See, but when you're in a state of fear, like let's just say we're having a conversation, something sparks you into fear. These waves here and here, what happens is since you miss that part of truth, your mind goes and it creates, based on your paradigm, your box, and your beliefs, what it does is it goes in here and it says, here, this is what happened since I didn't see it, you know, because this is usually what happens. This is usually the fucked up shit that happens to me. So, you know what? There was a charity ball and, you know, people were giving away shit. Next thing you know, somebody took off with the shit. Or somebody did something that offended you. So that's where you're at. So like if you're always in defense mode, you really ain't taking in very much awareness. When you're in a state of love, you're taking in everything just exactly as it is because you care. So to get rid of these bullshit boxes that are not true, then you have to live in the now. Now, everybody has their own paradigm, their own set of filters in their mind. You know, for the reality that you missed, you go in and fill in the blanks. That's why 90% of people do not know the fucking truth. And it's also why that they tell you when you go to court, we want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But when you go speak in your jargon based on your paradigm, well, that doesn't match up to someone else's paradigm. You're not given the truth. You're given it based on the way you've seen it. Well, if you question what I'm saying, then what you do is you take you and a buddy and you write a small paragraph. A slapped B. A slapped B. Why did A, which could be a person, slap B, which could be a person, an animal, stationary object, whatever. And you write a small story about it. And then you take your buddies and let your buddy take yours. And what you do is you see what you wrote for a story. And if it was a violent one where someone slapped you and you walked away, well then that's just your paradigm that usually you're the one that gets fucking picked on and abused. Okay? If you fought back, then you're always the aggressor. See, from A slap B, you can bring up the story. But every one of these little fucking, lower sections and higher sections of the frequency or vibration, every one of them are fill-ins of your paradigm, what your beliefs are. But if you're in a state of love, you're vibrating. It doesn't bring in, your assumptions. So many people live their fucking lives based on presuppositions, assumptions about, what might. Okay, well, let's just say if I assume that if I walk down the road that there's going to be a man down there with a gun and he's going to shoot me, chances are I'm not going to go down there. Just like Adam and Eve, if they assumed that they couldn't go through the flaming swords and cherubim, so it scared them so bad they didn't go for the tree of life. So you can't base your life on assumptions. If you do, it will hold you back. And those assumptions most of the time are based on what's outside of truth. And what is your paradigm? If, what you're flying so fucking high, everything's positive and you're lucky, well, I guess, what, hell, the guy robbed the bank, but, lucky things happened along the fucking way. But if you're always looking for a gunman, you're out here, well, lucky shit is not going to manifest in front of you. Like I said, if a gunman or a police officer and a guy named Lucky go into a Starbucks to get him some coffee, and you know what? The police officer's always looking for a gunman. But Lucky will always find that money, that $500 bills, sitting on the fucking floor. Oh, look at there. I'm fucking my lucky day, man. I got $500. While the cop's too busy putting his attention towards finding a gunman. So if you're always in, nothing ever works my way. I'm always down. You're actually blocking yourself. You're not putting up antenna, because your brain is nothing but fucking antenna. You're not putting up the antenna to bring in good things into your life. You block them out. They say that you actually block them out. Just like if you don't believe in birds and nothing's about birds and nobody pays attention to birds anymore, one day you wake up and you'll be like, I haven't really noticed any fucking birds lately. That's why also in psychology, like the raven is representative of death or the dark night of the soul, you dying and being like the phoenix and rising from your ashes. Well, first you have the raven. The raven turns into the phoenix in some sorts, because you've got to go through a little bit of fucking hell, the raven, to transmute and turn the lead into gold, the raven into the phoenix, right? But as you're going through this, when you're going through these trying times, or you're starting to get into the gold, then they say that, you'll start seeing these things outside of you, like the raven. You'll see the raven fly by and you're like, oh, there's a raven. And you didn't really realize that was a symbol. That was something, an archetype that you're supposed to take in to let you know that this is what you're going through right now. You're going through the dark night of the soul. You're down in the blackest of black, and you're in chaos, and you're trying to break free, so that way you can rise from the fucking ashes as the phoenix. And that is your truth. Right? This would be, the black, right? Sin, I'm gonna put this up here. I'm gonna put the sine wave in here. And if you notice, you'll notice up in the right hand corner of the sine wave, it says cause I sin. Cause I sin. Because what is sin? Sin is a sine wave. And the more sine or time that you fall outside of truth, the more you destroy yourself, because your wave is going to be broad. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be more of a wave, and outside of truth you are. That's why you want to stay in truth, like as in the Bible said. If it's not the truth, it's an assumption. And if it's assumptions, well, that's pretty much anything outside that fucking solid straight line. Always making assumptions about things, right? So we are 58 minutes in, and I'll probably add some images and maybe some gifts to give you an idea of the Taurus energy field and things like this. Maybe I can find a Merkaba, spinning, and you'll see man inside of it, right? But this is the tree of life, and what you believe and what you know affects it. Whether you're living in the now or you're living in the past and the future, all that affects your reality, right? And your story is your story, which is your history, right? It's kind of like they say that, when God wanted to see what he looked like, he created you to be his mirror, you to be his eyes to see his beauty, you to feel, and whatever, if you're feeling sadness or whatever, he wants to feel all that, right? That's why they always say that, whatever you're going through, God's going through it with you, because you are basically his omnipresence. What you feel, he feels. What you see, he sees. And if you go out and you find yourself in nature and you love the world, right? I mean, in nature, you can't judge anything. It's only whenever you come back into the cities and you start looking around at people, you start judging again. But when you go out there into nature, after a while, the only person you have to judge is yourself. So if you ever wonder how to clean that shit out of you, to get your life in order and figure out what your quirks are, what's got you all fucked up, the lies that you tell yourself, go out in nature, because there's nothing to judge out there, and you can only turn in on yourself. And it's like they say, the inner man dwells with the Lord, right? It's like this, if you bring forth what is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you will destroy you. Going out into the forest, right? Going out into the desert to see if you can survive, whatever, is bringing forth what is inside of you. So if you ever wonder why your life is fucked up, or you're having problems with understanding your thoughts and things like that, you go out in nature. It won't take very long, and you'll find out where all the fucking demons are. They're inside you. All right, y'all have a good night. Maybe I'll get one back out as quick as possible.